Oh, dearest Reginald, how is it going?
Yeah, it's great. It's great, man.
How are the... Oh, hello then. Welcome to Frankenstein Theatre. Today we'll be talking about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and all that it happens in it. Isn't that right, Reginald?
Yeah, I know.
Let's talk about the plot.
Now we're going to talk about the plot of the story. First, we're going to start out Captain Robert Walton. He writes his letters to his sister in England. He's the main character at first. He's on his little voyage. He then runs into our main character, Victor Frankenstein, who tells him about a creature he has created. Victor begins his story in childhood in Geneva. He spent with Elizabeth and his family. Henry Clerval, his friend, is very close, as you will see him later in the book. When he begins at the University of Ingolstadt, he is overtaken by an obsession to create life. One night, he brings his monster to life. Victor then sees Henry Clerval, his dearest friend, and who had arrived to attend the university with him. Victor falls ill, and Henry takes care of him. Victor plans to return to Geneva one day and to regain his health, but he receives a letter from his family which brings horrible news, informing him that William, his youngest brother, has just been murdered. Anyways, Victor sees that the monster is in the woods and decides that he has killed his brother. Upon arriving home, Victor learns that Justine has been wrongly accused of the murder, for she was in the vicinity when the crime had transpired. She is convicted and then executed. She dies the next day. It is very sad. Victor feels as if both his family members' deaths were caused by him because he created the monster. Victor then goes to the mountains with Henry, where he encounters the monster. And then the monster tells him his story. Since his creation, he admits to killing William and framing Justine. He then tells Victor to create another monster. Victor agrees to create another monster for the original monster. He goes to an empty island, abandoning Henry Clerval to work on a female monster, but destroys his work when he begins to think of all the horrific things that monsters can bring. The monster swears that he will appear at Victor's wedding.
So, Victor dumps the body in the lake. He is accused of murder. The townspeople shows him the body in hopes that he would confess. He showed because it was his friend, Henry. He is kept in prison where he becomes ill again, but is released when he recovers. Victor goes home with his father and marries Elizabeth. He believes that the monster is going to kill him on his wedding night, so he sends Elizabeth to bed early. Her scream shortly after makes him realize the monster had meant he would kill her. Father dies of grief right after. Victor, with no more family left, decides to get revenge on the monster. Goes farther and farther north until the monster escapes and Victor meets Walton. The rest of the story is told by Walton in his, letter to his sister. Victor dies soon. After, Walton is shocked to find the monster crying over Victor's body. The monster tells Walton that the monster can die now. Then the monster leaves.
Now let's talk about the characters. The main character of the story is Victor Frankenstein. He's a very odd person. See, he desires knowledge, which may be a theme in the novel, because Mary Shelley's parents were in fact thirsty for knowledge. Elizabeth. And Elizabeth ends up trying to marry Victor. You see, Elizabeth has full of grace. The monster is very mysterious, but powerful. You see, the monster can leap bounds of 20 feet. He can also jump and push things out of his way with his swole muscles. Then we also have Robert Walton. We see him at the beginning of the book. He is a ship captain, and he tries to help Victor after the monster. Then we have Henry Clerval, one of Victor's dearest friends. You see, he's like a brother. He is very close to Victor. He knows him inside and out. So he is a very important character because he knows Victor better than Victor knows himself. Whoa, that was a deep. Then we have Justine Moritz. She's blamed for the murder of William, who happens to be Victor's younger brother, who is murdered by the monster. Then there is Alphonse Frankenstein. Alphonse is Victor's father. There could perhaps be some father issues there. We would not like to discuss those. And then, last but not least, is Beaufort, the friend of Victor's father, who plays a limited yet important role in the book. Overall, the themes in the book, there's a danger in pursuing knowledge. It seems as if Victor knows too much for his own good in creating a monster, in creating the flaws of himself. He is going deeper and deeper into the knowledge in which he should not go. As well, the monster is in fact a representation, a manifestation of all that is wrong with ourselves. Every problem, every aspect that is wrong with Victor, he creates in the monster. Tell me about the setting in which we take place.
The setting? Geneva, Switzerland. And it's also University of Ingolstadt in Germany, where he creates the monster.
As well, they may go to some cold and distant places, like the Arctic. But that is the setting in which this book takes place. Now let's get into some analysis. Perhaps maybe even a rap or two.
Represent Geneva. That's what I'm talking about, huh? Ready? Little Victor Frankie wants to know it all. He has some studies, some books, ancient law. He's got a great childhood, but no one to call friend. The agony that ensues never ends.
There are many major themes in this book. Darkness, intelligence, like Captain Hook, the monster we created, can't be destroyed due to the tactics, the rules, philosophies employed.
Is the monster real? Why not? After all, Dr. Frankenstein's the one that gave him the shot to live or not. His face grows hot, so distraught over the monster that's killing. His family goes down the well. His marshal is the way he fell. Frankie's his name, making monsters his game. Don't try and catch the monster, he's running. Too intelligent, too strong, too fast, too cunning. Eventual loss is the result in the end. But is it the monster who's your real friend? Word.
The first quotation. No one can conceive the anguish I suffered during the remainder of the night, when I spent, cold and wet, in the open air. But I did not feel the inconvenience of the weather. My imagination was busy in the scenes of evil and despair. Mary Shelley creates a depressing and exhausted atmosphere through her use of dark and painful imagery.
Second quote. For an instant, dare to shake off my chains, and look around me with free and lofty spirit. But the iron had eaten into my flesh, and I sank again, trembling and hopeless, into my miserable self. Mary Shelley uses personification to add human-like characteristic to make the scene more dramatic.
So much has been done, exclaimed the soul of Frankenstein. More for more will I achieve, treading in the steps already marked. I will pioneer a new way, explore unknown powers, and unfold to the world the deepest mysteries of creation. His nightmares illustrate his fears of what he has created, and these foreshadow the events that take place in the future of the novel. A key quotation. My present situation was one in which all voluntary thought was swallowed up and lost. I was hurried away by fury, revenge alone endowed with the strength and composure. It rounded my feelings and all me to be calculating, and claim at periods when otherwise delirium or death would have been my potion. Victor is angered that all his loved ones are dead. The need for revenge consumes him, envelops him, and develops in his personality.